Hello and welcome to the Not My Job Pod. I'm your host, Emily Gant, and today is a solo episode because I accidentally kind of did them every 5 episodes, and now that's just what we're doing because I decided, and this is my show about nothing. So I have titled this one the 10 Unwritten Laws of Life. Some are serious, some are not, and that's kind of how life goes. So that's fine. But I turned 35 this weekend, and that number just sounds really old. And it's the first time that I'm like, "Whew." And I think the weirdest thing too is that when I say that I'm 35, a lot of people say to me like, "Oh, no way. Like I thought you were like 26, 28, 29. Like I didn't think you were in your 30s." And I don't know if people are just saying that to be nice or if, eh, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I think what's even weirder is like I don't necessarily love hearing that because I am 35, lived more life experiences, I think, than even, I don't know, that sounds arrogant to say, but whatever, the average 35-year-old. Like, I've lived in so many different countries, met so many different people, like, done so many different things, had different career paths. So I just always feel like I don't know how to feel when people are like, "Yeah, you don't look it," or something like that. Like, what does 35 look like? I don't know. But this is it apparently. So that's okay too. Anyway, law number one, I decided you cannot take the middle seat on the subway when there are two other seats available on either side. You have to take one or the other. And I noticed this the other day when a guy just like sat down in the middle of three seats, and it just like irritated me from the inside out. And I don't know why. Like there was no one else on the train. It just like felt wrong. And then I went down a rabbit hole in my thought process about how it's probably I don't know, it probably says something about like women being scared to take up space just in society. So maybe from here on out, I'll just take all three seats. But yeah, still noodling on that one. Unwritten rule number two, I think if someone shows you a photo on their phone, like from their phone, you do not have the right to swipe. That's just not allowed. Like I think if someone's trusting you to like hand over their phone, you should know that like you don't get to like, oh, let me just like keep looking at more photos. Like you need to ask before you just swipe. Maybe that's a generational thing, but yeah. Some people need to work on that. Number three, you don't have to have goals. So someone recently asked me what my goals are at 35 or like for age 35. And I honestly don't have any. I thought about like growing this podcast or like growing my social media accounts. And then I was thinking like, why? What's the point? I already have all my basic needs like met. Like I have a good job, decent salary, a nice home, nice people around. I get to do things that I like doing. And so for me, I didn't want to like create any sort of like numerical goal for this year because I feel like I'm always doing that. I always have to get to B1 German so that I can apply for my permanent residency. I always have to stay in this job for a certain number of days because I have this visa. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I don't have to have any goals. And so I think instead of goals this year, maybe I'm shifting towards a practice, which is trying to find things that I want to get better at and things that I want to improve in without assigning them numerical properties, which is weird to think about because we're such a numerically driven society as a whole. And I think that on a whole, we put too much value in like attaining a certain amount. Like, oh, I'm going to make X amount of money by the end of the year. Oh, I'm going to get to this level of the language that I'm learning. Oh, I'm going to, get promoted, or like I'm going to, maybe a promotion isn't numerical, but like I'm going to bench 200 pounds this year, like the weights or something. Like fitness goals are usually numerical. And I don't want to make metric driven goals. I think that was exhausting me. And then it's also upsetting when you don't actually hit that metric driven goal. So what I'm trying to do is just lean into things that I'm enjoying and then try to find ways that I can continue to enjoy them while continuing to learn and improve. And then maybe, I don't know, this is still in process. So if anyone's kind of gone through this, let me know. But I think that, for example, with German, I was thinking this weekend that maybe I might start talking to, like asking some friends to do like a voice note on WhatsApp back and forth once a day. And it'll just be like something super easy. And we can just, I don't know, it's like 30 seconds for them and, a little bit of extra time for me to like figure out what the heck they're saying. And that would be fun. And it's still a way to connect with other people. But it's not necessarily like, oh, I need to get to C1 because I don't need anything. These are wants. And so they're supposed to be something that's enjoyable, leading to something good in the end. And then to get on like a little sidetrack about German, because I think about this a lot. It's hard for me to speak with people in German who I already have an established relationship with in English. I just find that incredibly awful and cringe. And I don't know why. I really don't. because I think you have this like relationship with people and then you start speaking German and then it's like, I don't know, your relationship is just completely reduced to like a toddler level and you're like, oh, I had a personality, but I don't anymore. And now it's like my German is good enough that I'm like happy to talk to people who either we started our relationship like, exchanging German and English, or that's perfectly fine to share. But for example, yeah, I'm happy to call the doctor's office in German. I'm happy to talk to the dentist in German. I'm happy to like pre-prep vocabulary for those kinds of situations because I don't know those people. I don't care about them. And so, for example, I went into the dentist the other day and they were like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Well, last time you said that we could cancel the cleaning, but I still have to get the filling." And they were like, "No, the filling is on this date and you don't have an appointment today." And I was like, "Oh." And they were looking at me like, "Oh, okay, her German's not as good as we thought it was." And like I was like, "Man, I don't know if that's a mistake that I would have made in English. It's very possible that I could have done that in English, but yeah, just things like that make you like second guess yourself all the time." Because yeah, I left the dentist like 2 weeks ago and I was like, I am so good. Just did that whole thing in German. It was chaotic, but everyone like listened, understood. I understood, but apparently I didn't understand. So, but yeah, as my best friend always likes to remind me when I pushed a pull door in Spain once and I was like, oh, can't read Spanish, haha. And she was like, you push pull doors in English. I think that's worse. Okay. The next one, number 4. The closest relationships you're going to have will be when you see and value money the same way. And I'm not someone who cares about money really, but I do think you have to have the same mentality with money to like truly be close with people. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit because I've never cared about like having a certain amount of money. I've always enjoyed nice experiences though and nice things. And I do have a certain amount of privilege that comes from having a certain amount of money. So I'm not like, rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I can do the things that I want to do with the money that I have. And I definitely don't require that the friends that I have the same amount of money, but they should still have the same amount of respect towards money. And when I was talking to a friend about this, because we're always really aligned on money and just like spending, it's not necessarily about the full amount. Like if I was making more, I'm happy to pay more, but then it's literally just like all you want to hear is like, oh, thanks for taking care of that. Or then I don't know, if you buy the groceries because you make more than your friend does, they, are there to help you with the cleanup. And like, I don't, but it's not like it's an unspoken thing. And I feel like, I don't know, it's a very like societal thing that's very bizarre because it's unspoken and I don't want to have to talk about it. But it's like if you're just in alignment and you just kind of click in that way that like, I'll always pay my friend back on time. Or like if I owe money, I'm always going to pay it. Or I'm not going to like, I don't know. Nobody will ever have to follow up with me to be like, oh, could you pay me what you owed me? Like that would never happen. Like I will always settle up with a friend. And it's crazy to me that like some people don't do that. Like I haven't really had that experience recently, but yeah, I was talking to a friend who has, and like it's just yeah, I think that's really, really important. And a lot of friendships, it doesn't actually get to that point like where you have to worry about that. But I do think with like close friendships, especially if you're like, I don't know, seeing someone and then, maybe they helped you move some stuff. So then the next time you get them coffee or I don't know, I guess it's more about the gesture than the actual money and then being transparent with who has what. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm not explaining it well at all, but I do think that alignment on those like stupid rules of society does matter. Like it doesn't need to be split exactly fairly, but it's incredibly powerful when you have friends who are down to not always split down the middle, but still feel that it's even. I think that's nice. If you're going on a trip, I think that's different. Like then, yeah, get a split wise and just split it down the middle. But I hate going to. I don't use that word lightly. Going to a restaurant and splitting the bill. I don't know. I'd rather just one person pays it and then everyone pays their friend back. And I don't know why that's like a thing that irritates me. I guess if the restaurant's like friendly with it, but yeah, that's just so I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the tit for tat splitting. And that's where I'm at 35. Number 5, if you cancel on a friend, you have to be the one to reschedule. I think that's the rule. And also if you were the last person to like reach out for an invite, then I don't think you have to do it again. And maybe again that's coming from a place of like I'll get to this in a minute, but I have so many things to do all the time and it's just I don't know. Maybe I need to stop worrying about filtering and just like go ahead and sound like an awful person. Yeah, it's like if it's too much like calendar Tetris and like irritation to organize something. I have other things to do. That being said, I have so many friends who I have had to cancel on, and then I just feel awful about it because I was just either sick or I took on too much or something else came up, and I don't know. That's bad too. But yeah, then I do make an effort to reschedule because I'm like, I do want to see that person. So, I don't know. I think all relationships are good when you feel that there is even effort. And maybe that goes back to the money thing as well. Number six, don't offer advice unless you are explicitly asked. I think this is a really valuable one. I had to realize that, yeah, I don't need to share my opinion. Sometimes you just have to listen. And then sometimes your friend will be like, what do you think? And then you're like, oh, okay. Okay, I'll jump in now. You've asked, but yeah, unless they're asking, you're just saying like, wow, like shit, how does that feel? Are you okay? What are you what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, because if they need help or advice, like they will ask. Yeah, that's where I'm at on that one. Number seven, there is a difference between being tired and being burnt out. And I think this is a new one for me because I think I spent the majority of 2024 just like burnt out. I was flying every other month between Berlin and San Francisco for work. I hated it. I was exhausted, not in a good way. I had this goal of permanent residency, so I knew I like couldn't quit my job because I needed to stay in it for X amount of time so I could get the residency. And I just felt like I was like chained to it. And so like what literally got me out of bed in the morning was like the fear of losing my visa and having to leave a city that I liked and like this like light at the end of the tunnel that I was seeing. And now it's been half a year since leaving. I don't know. I'm still me. So like I still sign up for too much stuff, but like at least now everything that I'm doing is like something that, I'm excited about or interested about or like ready to dive into. But yeah, like I haven't been in the situation in a while where there's just so many things I want to do, but like I can't fit them all in. It's a good problem to have, but at the same time, like at the end of the day, I'm not an extrovert. And I think I wish that I was. I really wish that I was. I wish that I gained energy by being around other people. And don't get me wrong, I love being around other people. I like talking to new people. I like seeing new people. But at the end of the day, like I'm a very introverted person. I need time by myself to hang out, recover, just be alone. like that's a non-negotiable. So like I'll have to schedule these like days where I can just like hang out by myself and do nothing. And that's good too. But yeah, if I like schedule, then I don't get those days and I need those days. So yeah, it's a good problem to have, but just because I'm excited about things doesn't mean that I can do them all. So in September, I like wrote it down just like in a list and I was like, okay, I went to multiple like big like Berlin style like parties. I went to art shows, multiple, coffee dates, cocktails, friends, German classes, did a slew of doctor's appointments that I was just like, delaying. I don't know, I always do them in the fall. Then I went to two concerts. I went to dinners. I went to a supper club. I started this, well, I didn't start this channel, but like I continued this channel. I went to Paris, which was super, super fun. But yeah, like I was like looking at all the things that I did this month and I was like, wow, that was a lot. And then I forgot that the two big things were that, yeah, I went to Paris, which was like a very full 4 days. And I got a cold somewhere in there. So yeah, I was like sick in the middle of all that. And granted, I'm lucky that like if I'm sick, it's really, I don't know, it's kind of nice. Because if I'm sick, I don't like just like sitting and stewing in my own sickness because then I just feel worse. And so I do like having something to like take my mind off it. And so I'm lucky with the fact that, I can just go work from my sofa and it's like not a big deal to be sick at work. But yeah, I know that's a luxury as well that like I get to recover while working. But at the same time, yeah, it was just a lot. It was a lot this month. And like when I look back on it, I'm like, what would I have cut? Like what would have been the thing to cut? And I'm like, I don't know. And like that's problematic. I gotta figure that out. Because yeah, at present everything is still really, really fun. But yeah, it's not a good sign when it's cold season, it's flu season, like everyone gets sick. So maybe I'm overthinking that as well. But yeah, again, this is a new problem for me where there's so many things that I'm excited about doing that I can't fit them all in. And so yeah, if you've ever had this problem, yeah, please reach out. Let me know. But yeah, I do genuinely feel like I have limitless energy when it's things that I want to be doing. And I I love that. I think that's nice. But yeah, in October, I'm definitely taking I had a long weekend this weekend, so two more chill days. I have a chill week lined up next week. It's very like scheduled, but yeah, still doing German classes and hopefully getting some urban sports classes in. I think I'm signed up for like three or four. But yeah, that'll be nice. But yeah, weirdly, I think what doesn't stress me out is actually having all the stuff to do. It's like I don't like when it's like pre-scheduled because I started trying to get into this habit where like every Sunday I would sit down and actually review my own calendar. And then I just thought to myself, I don't know, I don't like it when I have this like back to back scheduling. Like I don't think I could ever be like a CEO of a company or something who has this like back to back to back to back. Because at a certain point, like it's something about the constraints of the actual schedule that I'm like, I'm not doing any of this. I just cut it. So yeah. Luckily, yeah, I love working remotely as well because I can just like, be at home and throw a load of laundry in and, pay my phone bill like in between, switching meetings or something like that. So I do like that flexibility because also if you're in an office, I feel like that just takes the place of chatting with a friend or colleague or going to get another coffee or like stepping outside for a walk. So I don't think it's like any difference in like work time, but it's just for me, it's nicer that all my life admin kind of just gets packed into my workday. But yeah, I think what was that? That was number 7. So now we're on number 8. I think falling in love with the city, kind of like falling in love with the person. When I first went to Paris, I was 19. And it was weird because on the same trip was the first time that I ever went. No, that's not true. It was the second time that I went to Paris. And the first time that I went to Berlin was on the same trip. And I was 19 and I just loved Paris. I thought it was just the best city in the world. It was like romantic and wonderful and beautiful and everything was great. And it was fun to go back after so many years, like 15 years later. And, I could totally see why I just absolutely loved it. To the point where, because Paris is really what started all of this, is like, I just loved Paris so much that I was obsessed. And so then I got back to the US. And then at the time I was doing a French minor in university. So that was weird about Paris too. I'm like walking around and I'm like, I can kind of understand things still because my French used to actually be pretty good. And honestly, one of my biggest regrets is that when I moved to China, I lived with now one of my, closest friends, David. He is French. And again, this goes back to like, what is it about me that I won't speak these stupid languages with people who actually speak? They're not stupid languages. It's me being stupid. But yeah, native French speaker. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, your French is actually pretty good. Like, cause we spoke like one day, like, I think it was like B2-ish level then coming out of university. But like, I was writing papers that like now I can't read in French. And in China, he was like, yeah, like, let's speak French. Like, you can actually get it up to a C1 level. And I just let it go. I just dropped the ball. I don't know what it was. Yeah, I really need to get over this like fear of speaking to my actual friends in their native language. I don't know. Okay. I don't have a therapist, but if I did, I'll ask her. I'll ask ChatGPT and then no, I won't do that. I have therapist friends. I'll ask them. Anyway, sorry. Back to Paris. Yeah, it's still like the city of dreams, but it's not my dream anymore. And that was kind of weird to like see something that was so beautiful and fun and it fits perfectly with my friend Liz who actually lives there. Like, I so see her in that city and everything's just kind of like working out for her and it's like, totally meant to be. But yeah, I remember like 19-year-old me coming back from France and then I was taking extra French classes at university and I was like looking up. I mean, this was early days of the internet. I was looking up like rooms for rent that were listed online and like resources online about like moving to France. And like there was nothing back then on the internet about that. And I was obsessed. And then that's why I did the teaching certification because I wanted to do like some teaching program in France. Then where like you work in a French school. That route I ended up in China, and then yeah, that all cascaded into China, Indonesia, Ecuador, Chile, Tonga, like all the countries. Yeah, and then finally Germany. And also, that's not what I do anymore for works, and haven't done that since 2017, 2018. So yeah, it was cool. It was seeing something that, yeah, I once loved, but is no longer mine. But it was like the perfect 4 days and I would definitely love to go back. I think it's a beautiful city. I think the people are actually incredibly, incredibly friendly. I don't know. Anyone who says French people are okay. Granted, I do think that there is a lot of like casual racism in Europe that I also don't experience. So it could very well be a different experience if you were a black or brown person in any European city. But for me personally, walking around. Yeah, everyone was just very nice. And yeah, even with, I don't know, by the end of the 4 days, like a little bit of French was coming back, but like it's just a weird feeling where like, and now I can't even speak Spanish anymore because German words just come out. And so it's like this peppering of all the languages that like I can't speak. And I don't know, I'm like encroaching on polyglot status, but in reality, I can't speak any of these languages anymore. And so that's frustrating. But like I know that I'm being hard on myself and that I can actually speak, them quite well, or I could probably get back into Spanish quite quickly. But like, oh, it's just I don't know. My brain's on the fritz with that one. But yeah, I do want to just focus on German. That is what I wish to focus on. And I need to do more. It just happens to be the hardest for me of any of the languages that I've tried to learn, and it's going the slowest. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop complaining about that now. It's actually but through this podcast, I guess I've learned that I need to stop avoiding talking to my friends in those languages. Because yeah, that is one of my biggest regrets about my first year in China, is that I didn't use David to get to like it could have been C2 French by the end of the year if we had just switched to French. Hindsight 2020. But yeah, anyway, I guess long and short of it, it was a lovely trip. I can absolutely appreciate Paris for the way that that city actually changed my life. And it did. Yeah, I got to live in so many places because it was the first time that I ever walked into a city and thought, like, I want to live here. And I had that feeling about Paris when I was 19. And then weirdly, I had that feeling about Berlin many, many years later, I guess, when I kind of grew into it. But when I came here in 2022, I guess it was, I was like, yep, this is it. This is home. And so far, no regrets. So number 9, silence is not always awkward. Sometimes I think it is the mark of a very comfortable conversation. And yeah, when I reflect on the friends that I can be silent with, I am very grateful for them. And I don't think that that's something you can do with everybody. Sometimes it's like, all right, how do I bridge this gap? How do I bridge this gap? And sometimes too, I'm like telling myself, I'm like, you don't have to bridge the gap. Like you can just sit in silence and just like wait for somebody else to ask a question. I don't know. I appreciate the compliment. Somebody called me a good conversationalist recently. I don't know. I loved that compliment. I thought it was the nicest compliment ever. But at the same time, I think something that I want to improve on is the fact that I don't need to push a conversation along every time. That actually does take brain power, and sometimes I can just sit there and listen, and that's nice too. And number 10, which I guess we already kind of touched on, is I don't think you should ever make fun of someone who is speaking a language that is not their own. I don't think that should be allowed, and I don't think anyone should do it. And with that, I think I'm concluding the shortest episode of the podcast ever, which I'm okay with because it's birthday weekend and I had a full one. And yeah, I'm excited that I've talked to a few other people about being on it. Yeah, upcoming some good guests. So yeah, I am excited. And then, maybe take a break around Christmas. We'll see. See how it goes. There's no pressure because I don't have goals. And I think that's empowering. And I don't know, as a recovering, what's the term? Like a recovering goal oriented person. I don't know, like a recovering aspirational person. Yeah, I'm trying not to have goals anymore because I've achieved them. And I don't know, maybe I don't know. I've been saying I don't know a lot, and that is the theme. That's what I'm trying to figure out at present is do I even need a goal, or can I just be happy with currently what I have, because what I have is pretty great. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.